Good morning, afternoon, everyone. Have you ever felt your peace disrupted by someone's words or actions? Maybe a colleague, a stranger, or even someone close to you said or did something that made your blood boil. Anger, that all too familiar reaction, sweeps in like a storm, leaving chaos in its wake. But what if I told you that you could stop that storm before it even begins? Today we're exploring something liberating the art of never getting angry or bothered by anyone. The first step to mastering this art is understanding before reacting. Most anger stems from misunderstanding. Imagine a coworker snapping at you during a meeting. Your instinct might be to snap back, but pause for a moment. Could it be stress, not malice, driving their behavior? Seeking to understand diffuses the tension and opens the door to empathy. Now let's talk about emotional control. True power isn't in raising your voice or demanding attention, it's in staying calm when chaos surrounds you. Emotional control is like a superpower. It shields you from the negativity that others try to project and keeps your peace intact. And then there's perspective. Shift your perspective and suddenly challenges transform into opportunities. Picture someone cutting you off in traffic. Instead of stewing in rage, think of it as practice for patience, a reminder that you're in control of how you respond. Another key is detachment. Detachment is freedom. What others say or do reflects their world, not yours. When you stop taking things personally, you liberate yourself from the burden of other people's negativity. Their words lose their power the moment you choose not to internalize them. But let's not forget empathy. Practice empathy and watch anger dissolve. When someone lashes out, it's rarely about you. It could be their bad day, their worries, or their insecurities. By understanding this, you'll find it easier to respond with compassion instead of irritation. Remember this, the power of choice. Anger is not something that happens to you, it's something you choose. And just as you can choose anger, you can choose calmness, kindness, or even indifference. Every time you make that choice, you reclaim control over your peace. In a world full of chaos and conflict, choosing to stay calm and unbothered isn't just a skill, it's a gift to yourself and others. When you refuse to let anger take root, you create a ripple effect of peace, understanding, and strength. So the next time someone tries to disrupt your peace, remember you hold the power, you're in control, and no one can take that away from you. When faced with situations that could provoke anger or irritation, the instinct to react immediately can feel almost automatic. But here's the thing, the moments between stimulus and response hold immense power. Taking the time to understand before reacting can transform how we navigate conflict and maintain peace of mind. Imagine someone says something hurtful or dismissive. The natural response might be to retaliate, to defend yourself with equal force, or to internalize their words as a personal attack. But what if instead you paused? What if you stepped back mentally and emotionally and considered the possible reasons behind their behavior? People often act out of their own unresolved issues, fears, or misunderstandings. Their words or actions might have little to do with you and more to do with their internal struggles. Understanding is about more than just refraining from an impulsive reaction. It's about curiosity. Why did they say that? What might they be experiencing? This approach doesn't excuse poor behavior, but helps you see the bigger picture. It allows you to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively, steering interactions in a more positive direction. Taking this pause also provides clarity. Reacting in anger often clouds judgment and escalates tension. When you seek to understand first, you're less likely to say or do something you'll regret later. You give yourself the opportunity to choose a response that aligns with your values and goals rather than letting the moment dictate your actions. Understanding before reacting is an act of self-respect. It demonstrates that you value your peace of mind and emotional well-being over the fleeting satisfaction of lashing out. It's a skill that requires practice, but with time it becomes second nature, a tool to help you navigate even the most challenging interactions with grace and composure. Emotional control is one of the most powerful tools you can cultivate in life. It doesn't mean suppressing or ignoring your emotions, but rather understanding them and choosing how to respond. This is not about denying that you feel anger, frustration, or annoyance. It's about recognizing those feelings, acknowledging them, and consciously deciding what to do with them. Consider this: when you lose control of your emotions, you give away your power. In moments of anger or frustration, it might feel as though the other person is the cause of your feelings, but the truth is, your reaction is entirely within your control. Emotional control means reclaiming that power, Instead of letting your emotions dictate your behavior, you decide how to act, staying grounded and deliberate in your choices. This isn't always easy. Our emotions can feel overwhelming, like waves crashing over us. But just as a skilled surfer learns to ride the waves rather than being swept away by them, emotional control allows you to navigate even the most turbulent situations with balance and poise. It requires practice and self-awareness. You begin by noticing your triggers, the situations, words, or behaviors that tend to ignite strong emotional reactions. With this awareness, you can prepare yourself to respond differently when those triggers arise. Emotional control doesn't mean you don't feel deeply. It means you choose not to let those feelings control you. For example, if someone insults you, your initial reaction might be to lash out. But when you practice emotional control, you pause. You take a breath. You remind yourself that their words reflect more about them than about you. By choosing not to engage in the negativity, you protect your inner peace and demonstrate strength. Emotional control positively impacts those around you. When you remain calm in the face of provocation, you set a tone for the interaction. Your composure can diffuse tense situations and encourage others to reflect on their own behavior. This kind of response not only strengthens your relationships, but also builds respect and trust. At its core, emotional control is about freedom. When you master your emotions, you are no longer at the mercy of external events or the actions of others. You remain steady and clear-headed, able to focus on what truly matters without being derailed by fleeting frustrations or conflicts. This clarity and resilience are what make emotional control a cornerstone of personal and interpersonal success. It is not just a skill, it's a mindset that allows you to move through life with intention and grace. Perspective is a powerful tool that shapes how we experience the world around us. When we encounter situations that provoke anger or irritation, the lens through which we view those moments determines our emotional response. By consciously shifting our perspective, we can transform these challenges into opportunities for growth and maintain our sense of calm. Imagine someone cutting you off in traffic. The immediate reaction might be to honk your horn, shout in frustration, or stew in anger for the rest of your drive. But what if you paused and considered a different perspective? Perhaps the other driver is in a rush due to an emergency, or maybe they simply made a mistake, something we're all guilty of from time to time. Reframing the situation in this way doesn't excuse the behavior, but it softens your reaction and prevents it from ruining your mood. Shifting your perspective also means focusing on what you can control rather than what you can't. When someone says something offensive or behaves rudely, you might initially see it as a direct attack. But stepping back, you can recognize that their words or actions are often more about their own struggles or insecurities than about you. Viewing the situation this way helps you detach from taking it personally, allowing you to respond with empathy or simply let it go. This approach doesn't just apply to minor irritations, it's equally powerful in larger conflicts. When disagreements arise, it's easy to see the other person as the antagonist. But by seeking to understand their point of view, you might uncover valid concerns or perspectives you hadn't considered. This doesn't mean you have to agree, but it fosters a more constructive and less emotionally charged dialogue. Perspective is also about seeing challenges as opportunities for growth. When something doesn't go your way, it can feel frustrating or even infuriating, but if you shift your focus to what you can learn or gain from the experience, it transforms the situation into something valuable. Obstacles become stepping stones and setbacks become lessons. This mindset not only reduces negative emotions, but also builds resilience and optimism. Shifting your perspective is a choice, a deliberate decision to view situations through a lens that empowers rather than diminishes you. It's a practice that requires awareness and effort, especially in moments of frustration. But over time, it becomes second nature. By changing how you see the world, you change how you experience it, creating a life where peace and positivity outweigh anger and irritation. Detachment is one of the most liberating practices you can adopt in life. It's not about becoming indifferent or emotionally cold, but rather about creating a healthy distance between yourself and the things you cannot control, whether it's people's opinions, their actions, or the outcomes of certain situations. When you master detachment, you free yourself from the emotional turbulence caused by external events. One of the most common sources of anger and frustration is taking things personally. When someone criticizes or disrespects you, it can feel like an attack on your worth. But detachment allows you to see their behavior for what it truly is, a reflection of their own mindset, struggles, or insecurities. By recognizing that their actions are not about you, you can avoid the trap of internalizing their negativity. You remain grounded, knowing that your value isn't determined by someone else's words or opinions. Detachment also means understanding that you can't control how others behave, only how you respond. People might act rudely, unfairly, or irrationally. If you tie your peace of mind to their behavior, you hand over your power. Detachment breaks this cycle by reminding you that your emotional well-being is your responsibility, not something dictated by others. You can observe their actions, acknowledge your feelings, and then choose to let go of what doesn't serve you. This mindset is especially freeing in relationships and social interactions. It's natural to care about how others perceive you or to want to influence their opinions. But when you become overly attached to these outcomes, you set yourself up for unnecessary stress and disappointment. Detachment allows you to show up authentically and let go of the need for validation. Paradoxically, this often strengthens relationships because you're no longer approaching them from a place of neediness or defensiveness. Detachment isn't just about people, it's also about outcomes. Life doesn't always go according to plan. When you're overly attached to a specific result, every setback feels like a failure. Detachment helps you embrace uncertainty and adapt to change with grace. It allows you to focus on your efforts rather than obsessing over results, fostering resilience and inner peace. At its core, detachment is a form of freedom. It liberates you from the weight of expectations, the sting of criticism, and the chaos of uncontrollable circumstances. It empowers you to navigate life with clarity and confidence, knowing that your peace isn't tied to external factors. By practicing detachment, you create space for joy, self-acceptance, and the kind of calm that no one and nothing can take away from you. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another, and it is one of the most transformative tools for maintaining peace and avoiding anger. When you practice empathy, you step outside of your own perspective and make an effort to see the world through someone else's eyes. This simple shift in focus can dissolve frustration, foster understanding, and lead to more harmonious interactions. Often, anger arises because we interpret someone's actions as a deliberate slight or attack. But what if, instead of jumping to conclusions, you paused and asked, what might they be going through? Perhaps the person who snapped at you is dealing with personal stress or pain that you know nothing about. By considering their potential struggles, you humanize them and soften your emotional response. Empathy helps you see beyond the surface of their behavior to the underlying causes, which often have little to do with you. Practicing empathy doesn't mean excusing poor behavior or allowing others to treat you unfairly. It's about understanding that everyone carries their own burdens, and those burdens often influence how they act. When you approach situations with this mindset, it becomes easier to let go of resentment and respond with compassion instead of anger. For example, if a coworker is short-tempered during a meeting, empathy might lead you to check in with them later rather than reacting defensively in the moment. Empathy also builds stronger connections. When you genuinely seek to understand someone's feelings or perspective, it shows them that you care. This often leads to more open and honest communication, reducing the likelihood of future conflicts. Even in difficult situations, empathy can create a bridge where there might otherwise be a divide. It transforms interactions from adversarial to collaborative. Practicing empathy requires intentional effort. It means listening actively, not just to respond, but to truly understand. It involves being curious about others' experiences and withholding judgment, even when their behavior is challenging. Over time, this practice becomes a habit, one that not only benefits others, but also enhances your own emotional well-being. Empathy helps you navigate the complexities of human interactions with grace, patience, and understanding. Ultimately, empathy is a gift to others and to yourself. By choosing to see the humanity in those around you, even when their actions are difficult or hurtful, you free yourself from the cycle of anger and retaliation. You create space for forgiveness, connection, and inner peace, cultivating a life where compassion takes precedence over conflict. The power of choice is one of the most profound abilities we possess. While we cannot always control what happens to us or how others behave, we have complete control over how we respond. This understanding is transformative. It reminds us that anger, frustration, or any negative emotion is not something imposed upon us, it's something we allow or choose to experience. And because it's a choice, we can also choose differently. In moments of provocation, it may feel like anger is inevitable, an automatic reaction to someone's words or actions. But the truth is, between the stimulus and our response, there is always a gap, a moment where we have the opportunity to decide how we will act. It's in this gap that our freedom and power reside. We can choose to react impulsively, letting anger take over, or we can choose patience, understanding, or even indifference. This power to choose is not about suppressing your emotions or pretending not to feel. It's about recognizing that emotions are natural and valid, but they don't have to dictate your actions. When you acknowledge this, you move from being a passive participant in your own emotional landscape to taking an active, intentional role. You become the author of your reactions rather than a character swept along by the narrative of anger or irritation. Choice is also deeply empowering because it shifts the focus from what is outside of your control, other people's behaviors, circumstances, or outcomes, to what is within your control, your mindset and actions. When you choose not to let anger consume you, you reclaim your energy and clarity. You create a space where you can respond in ways that align with your values and long-term goals, rather than being driven by fleeting emotions. Moreover, the choices you make in the heat of the moment have lasting impacts. Choosing calm over anger can de-escalate conflicts, preserve relationships, and build trust. It can also protect your own peace of mind, allowing you to move forward without carrying the weight of regret or unresolved tension. Each time you make this choice, you strengthen your ability to do so again in the future, creating a virtuous cycle of emotional resilience. Ultimately, the power of choice is what gives us control over our own happiness and well-being. It is a reminder that no matter how chaotic or challenging the external world may be, we have the ability to remain steady, composed, and true to ourselves. By embracing this power, we transform not only our reactions, but also our entire experience of life, choosing peace over conflict, understanding over frustration, and strength over surrender.